everybody, welcome back to Whiskey Central. If you're new here, my name is Shayla, and today the patrons voted about 3 months ago that they wanted to see me do an Old Forester 1910 versus Old Forester 1920, and I am finally back in the studio getting ready to film, so let's get into it. Alright, so let's start with Old Forester 1920. This pays homage to the time when Old Forester was granted a medical license to distill whiskey back in Prohibition. They say they chose 115 proof because back in the day it was bottled and put into a barrel at 100 proof, and they say with climate and the angel share, the end product was most likely about 115 proof. Alright, let's get into the details of this whiskey. This bottle will run you about $63. It's owned by Brown-Forman. It's non-age stated, 57.5% ABV, and the mash bill is 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% malted barley. It's aged in new charred oak barrels, and it's non-colored and non-chill filtered. Alright, those are the details of this whiskey. Let's go on the nose. Wow. So this is a pretty, I mean, it's 115 proof, so it makes sense, but this is a pretty kind of like pungent, intense nose. It's a little bit drying at the same time. Like, it smells sweet, but it's drying. It smells a little bit like solventy bubblegum. And then I get some almonds, like roasted almonds maybe. There's some rye spice on here as well. I think that drying kind of rye spice. There's a little bit of pepper too. But it's super creamy. There's like a banana cream, vanilla cream, caramel cream. I don't know. There's a little bit of dark red fruit, like some cherries and berries. There's a little bit of orange. Kind of like orange juice, not the peel. And there's a little bit of baking spice and a lot of dark brown sugar. All right, let's go on the palate. Cheers. Woo! First dram of the day. It's good. It's a little proofy though. Only because it's my first dram. Woo! So it's sweet. You get that vanilla, dark brown sugar. It's a little bit dry. It's kind of sweet up front, and then it goes a little bit dry. It gives you a little bit of a Kentucky hug. There's also some ginger, like fresh ginger, a little bit of cinnamon. It's intense at first, and then it kind of fades off, and it's sweet at first, and then it kind of fades off. Let's go for another sip. Cheers. So the body, I would say, is light to medium. Texture is light and dry. Complexity is low to medium. And finish, I don't know, I would say maybe short to medium or maybe medium. You would expect it to have, with the proof, you would expect it to hang around a little bit longer, but kind of doesn't. But this is a pretty solid dram. Let's see how the 1910 stacks up. Alright, so for this bottle, the story goes that there was a fire on October 22nd of 1910, causing some whiskey destined for a bottle to instead be put into a second barrel, causing a double barrel aging similar to something like Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. The second barrel used to make Old Forester 1910 is very heavily charred. Alright, let's get into the details of this whiskey. This bottle will run you about $60. It's owned by Brown-Forman. It's non-age stated, 46.5% ABV, and the mash bill is 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% malted barley. This whiskey is aged in new charred oak barrels, but then is finished in a custom-made, very heavily charred barrel for 6 to 9 months. And it's non-colored and non-chill filtered. Alright, those are the details of this whiskey. Let's go on the nose. Alright, so this one gives you a little prickle on the nose. It's a medium intensity, I would say. This one is a lot more intense. It's higher proof, so kind of makes sense. This one, it's only 93 proof, I think, but it smells higher proof. In a good way. And on this one, I get more maple syrup, so I would say it's on the lighter side of the sweet spectrum. There's a lot of vanilla on this, and it's really corn forward. It's the same mash bill as the 1920, but I'm getting a lot more corn and very, very little rye on this. So it smells a little dry and a little sweet at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense, but it smells a little dry, a little sweet, like banana. Not a crazy amount of banana, but like a little bit. And kind of like an orange, not like an orange creamsicle, but just orange cream that doesn't even exist, but you know what I mean. So there's some honey and barrel spice. It kind of reminds me of fall. So this was, if you've had Aberfeldy, this is like what Aberfeldy would be like if it was a bourbon, kind of. It smells really good. It does have a little bit of a dry hay thing going on. There's a little bit of baking spice like clove and cinnamon, and maybe even, and I'm not going to say this right, is it anise? Anise? I don't know, but there's like a little bit of that, so. And then there's some cherry in here, kind of similar to this. There's not as much red fruit, but there is a little bit of cherry. I don't really get berries in this, though. And then there's a little bit of caramel. I feel like I'm saying like a million notes, so sorry, but this is what I got. There's a little bit of pepper, too, but just a little bit compared to 1920. I think 1920 has more pepper on it than 1910. And then it smells, as Bobby Duke would say, a little bit like fresh cut wood.
We're going to the store to get some wood.
It's like a little bit like a pine board, like a freshly cut pine board. I don't know. Okay, I feel like I'm sounding like a douche, so we're gonna stop. Let's go for a sip. Cheers. So I feel like this smells really good, which is maybe why I got so many notes, just because I was like sitting there for an hour smelling it. The palate is a little bit more underwhelming. You get a sweet sensation, but then it goes a little bit dry. There's a little bit of barrel spice, a little bit of oak, tiny bit of vanilla. So I get a little bit of maple syrup. It's very corn forward, similar to the nose, like corn forward, not much rye. It's sweet and dry at the same time. I don't know, I feel like it leans more towards the dry side. Let's go for another sip. Cheers. So it's got light to medium body. The texture is light and dry. I would say it's lower complexity and has a short finish. Alright, I've talked through both of these whiskeys. Let's get into my recommendation. So neither of these are my favorite bourbon. I think I like 1920 better than 1910, but I would rather get Woodford Reserve Double Oaked for $47, or if I'm going to splurge, Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Barrel Proof for $65 than either one of these. But like, they're not bad. This one for $60 I don't think is worth it because it's only 93 proof. Yeah, 93 proof. This one for 65 or $63 I think is a little bit expensive because I can get other things for less that I enjoy more. But it's not bad. I just wish it was like $50. If it was $50, I'd be raving about it. But 65 is like a little bit, well, it's a little bit much. You know what I'm saying?
The fuck you talking about?
So, everybody and their brother says to mix these two 50-50 to get a 1915 blend. I would 100% agree with that. For some reason, they're both sweet and they're both dry at the same time. I know it's weird, but when you mix them, I feel like the dryness goes away and they're just sweet, which is my sort of jam. So if you like them dry, leave them as is. If you like it sweet, mix them together. Stuff and Whiskey, which is another channel. They just hit 5,000 subs. Congrats, guys. Josh and Aaron, they recommend to mix 1910 Woodford Reserve Double Oaked and Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Barrel Proof, and they just leave this guy out of the equation. So if you have those at home, maybe give those a try, and they might even be better. Alright, that about does it. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Whiskey Central. Next week, I struggle to say next week. Maybe next week I'll be putting out a video. It might be a couple weeks from now. We're going to try to stick to the schedule. So next week I'll be reviewing something that my patrons vote on. Just want to say thank you to everyone that has stuck with the channel through my not posting videos. It was a really stressful time of trying to sell our house, which actually didn't end up happening. So we're going to try again next year. But yeah, thank you so much for just sticking through it. We're going to get back to the normal, you know, hanky-panky, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Also want to thank my patrons. You guys are the coolest people on the internet. And yeah, just thank you for sticking with me, even though I have not been producing content. I love you guys so freaking much. But yeah, if you don't want to miss out on the next video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. I hope you enjoyed this little head-to-head. If you did, leave it a like. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. This is Benny on the dispatch. Yo, attention, yo, attention. Okay, stated. Oh my god. Yeah, I basically don't know what I'm doing anymore. At the time, that blinking lights drive me crazy. I feel like I'm on fire. Not because I'm warm, but because I'm like, why am I doing this? Dude, I'm so rusty at this. This is terrible. I'm back in the saddle again. Okay. Fuck. Okay. This is gonna take so long. Why can I not do this? To continue no. Oh god. Just struggling a lot here. This pays homage to, oh motherfucker. We're gonna fucking go with that, son of a bitch, yes. Bam, 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 wham, bada bam, bada bam, bada bam. Those are all done, everything's done, okay. Now the recommendation. Dear Lord Jesus,